All right. So it's 5:36 and we're going to call the meeting, the February meeting for the Green Community Group to order. I got to read some stuff here. The town of Lunenburg, in response to COVID-19, is currently following the guidance from the Lunenburg Board of Health in regards to public meetings, the virus and the steps for the community. In accordance with the governor's orders suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, all public meetings are being conducted remotely. This meeting will be broadcast live through local access cable on Facebook Live and the public access Fox Facebook page. The following also information is also provided for members of the public that would like to participate, and there is a Zoom meeting thing and how to get in and all that stuff. And the agenda lists all the topics which may be discussed at the meeting and are reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of this discussion. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by open meeting law. Okay, great. Did that wonderful speech. Oh, hold on. All right. Oh, I got to remember to watch for people coming in. All right. Kelly's going to be joining in a minute. So let's just do the first thing is I don't see anybody from the public. Public comment for the board. Any of you?
No.
Nope. All right, great. Did you have a chance to look at the meeting minutes, Matt?
Yep.
All right. So, well, let's take a look first at the Kelly. Thank you, Kelly. I'll be there in a minute. Ready? We just got to do the preliminary stuff. Okay, so we'll take a look at first the meeting minutes from, what was it, September?
Those were approved already.
Oh, that's right.
And that was
Okay.
just being sent to the town.
Gotcha.
So it's the December minutes.
The December minutes. Okay, so I will draft December minutes. So we'll share screen one, share, make it bigger. Okay. All right. Any discussion on the minutes? No. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Okay. I'll give a second. Okay, great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Great. Ayes have it. So we'll approve those minutes. All right. Excellent. All right, Kelly, I'm going to open it up. We're going to we wanted to discuss, instead of going back and forth 7 more times, I've asked Kelly to join us. And I want to, I figured I'd do this early on so that she could have time to get back to the family and enjoy an evening for herself and stuff like that. So Kelly, as a preamble, we're still going back and forth with Unitil on the pricing. Their lawyers talking to our lawyer. They got a bunch of things in there that make no sense. Every time they give us something, it changes a little bit, but that's neither here nor there. We do have that letter of understanding that if we wanted to buy him today, we can buy him today. However, what we really wanted to talk about was the process for the applying for the next Green Community Grant, and the idea of hiring a third-party designer to oversee the project and then hiring somebody to install, and just ask about your experience with this and what your suggestions would be on towards this.
So I think I kind of told you, so a couple things, you had a lot of information in there. One thing is, so we haven't released the 2022 Green Communities Competitive Grant application yet. It should be coming soon. That has not been released yet. Sorry to say that we're definitely delayed on our end, a little more on the legal side of looking at it, but it should be released. I'm actually going on vacation tomorrow. That's why I have a hard stop at 6 o'clock, because I have, if you hear them, little boys outside of my room waiting for me to tell them what to pack.
Oh, where you heading?
We're going to Florida.
Oh, we were just talking about it. I was there last weekend. $80 round trip to Florida.
That was not this is not my experience, but that's because it's school vacation week.
That's
so.
right.
Okay.
I'm like, really rub it in there, Dave. $80 round trip.
No. You got to look at Frontier from Providence next time.
Oh, so we're actually going out of Providence, which was so much cheaper. But yeah, just school vacation week, add like a few $100 on it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
So if we were going last week, I looked and it was like not even a third of the price, but that's
Yeah.
okay.
That's all right. That's all right. They'll love it. Okay.
So yeah, so I have a hard stop probably around 6. If that's possible.
Fine.
But anyway, so we haven't released the application yet. One thing I want to let you know though, that was updated in the last application that definitely applies to you guys, is you do not have to have a purchase price in hand. The
Okay.
way that we state it now, and the language was in the Q&A last time on combis, but we added it into the application. You will see it, that you need to show that the purchase price is in process. So even the document that you have probably saying what the price would be. The problem is it doesn't matter what you're paying, by the way, because we don't cover the cost necessarily to purchase it.
Right.
Your questions about designing, consultants, we've allowed things like that. There's 2 things to be aware of. It can play into your economics and the cost you're asking for the grant and how it looks in the grant table. So our grant table now has gotten a lot more robust. You have not come in since we've really tweaked it. We have a lot more emphasis on what are the energy savings? What are the greenhouse gas emission savings? Like all those things that are really the priority on our end. And sometimes streetlights should be okay, but when you're adding additional costs in on design and things like that, you're going to see that way into the overall project, right? Not necessarily always on the greenhouse gas emissions and things, but lighting sometimes doesn't have as big of an impact when you look at it compared to like heating conversions and things like that.
Okay.
We now have a lot of information we give to. So we will be providing in the grant table when you fill it out, all the way to the right of the tab where you enter in energy savings. After you enter them in, you're going to see calculated information that we look at to review the application. You're going to see how it comes out as MMBTU saved. You're going to see payback, things like that we automatically calculate now based on the information you provide for the project. When you scroll to the bottom of the table, we now give the average MMBTU saved for the previous year of what we're funding for projects. And projects that didn't always make that, didn't always get funded. So it's giving you an idea there too. Keep that in mind when you're adding to the project cost. Your cap will be 200,000. So we do, I don't know if as many communities have come in for design. We've had a lot of communities come in for consultants. That is very common. It's definitely something that could be of value to the town, of an understanding, knowing wiring, knowing a lot of things that you need to be aware of when you're taking on ownership. That can be helpful going through that process and having a consultant work with you. I'm not saying design isn't too. I don't think all the communities I've had have done full design.
Okay. So I guess I'm looking at it as design and consultant is kind of similar. They can
be separate. So when you say these things and you keep throwing this out, like some people have done a design to see, do they still want the same wattage? They still need the same light poles? Are they are they putting in, controls? Like there's a lot of things people do when you get into design, like, sky's the limit sometimes. Like we require a 7-pin compatibility. Other people are going with controls and taking it further, like the SimCon controls. So there's a difference. Consultant can kind of help with the design and oversee it, but some people do a full design. Like if you looked at the city of Leominster and you're talking Macumber lights, Lunenburg's not to that capacity. You don't have a lot of downtown lights. You don't have things that need to be dimmed overnight, maybe as many of them, things like that. So just be careful. The other thing you can do is break it out in the table, or you can combine it as one, but break it out within the project specifics in the narrative. Those are 2 different ways you can do it. I would probably say to put it all as one project so that the overhead of consultant and stuff is built in, because you're not going to have any energy savings when you break it out.
Okay. But so as far as though a consultant could help us with just which lights we're picking out and overseeing the project.
Yeah. So you can work with a consultant. So you know how I sent you that stuff from MAPC?
Yes.
And they have bids that they already work on, and they do both. Remember, they have both types of bids that they had open for the type of things you were looking at.
Right.
That's because there's a few out there that you probably heard of that do a lot of work in this area as far as consultants.
Okay. Now, have folks experienced where they just do straight installation?
I have had a few communities that have done it where they've either gone through like a project expediter, where they might have done straight in, had them come in as like $100,000 project early on. Most of them that are doing it now, you're working with someone that, you are working with a consultant. So there's been wiring issues. I don't have as much experience with Unitil, but National Grid has a lot on the liability and insurance side, and then on the wiring that might need to be replaced, depending on their comfort levels when you're getting into it. And it's definitely been helpful having consultants work through the pricing and things like that on that.
Okay. Okay. All right. Let me open up. Matt, Liz, do you have questions on this?
I guess I'm just trying to make sure I understand what you're saying, Kelly, because it's a lot. I mean, it's the whole
Streetlight
process.
Project in general is a lot, by the way.
Yeah,
There's
that's
a
what I
lot
mean.
that
It's
goes
a
into.
lot.
There's a lot that goes into a streetlight project.
Yeah, and even somebody, I myself work for another municipality, Fitchburg, and I have lots of experience with RFPs and a little bit with construction projects, and even still, this is
So Fitchburg leased their lights, which took a little less of the control, and it allowed, it was an easier process. They're one of my only communities that actually leased it. They were before becoming a green community. Going through the process you guys are, you're going to take on ownership, right? So that's a whole different level, and it's also maintenance agreement. It's more to consider. It's kind of like, you'll still have utility there because they play a role in it, but it's very different. And then you have to look at how you want to handle the maintenance of it too. So having someone come in that can help you with all those things as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's my personal feeling, is we need at least a consultant to help us.
Yes, and then you have 4,000, which could be like Groton, and then you have 30,000. You have a lot of different language out there too on like how bright the light should be, things like that.
So when you say that we should combine the different activities in the project, do you mean like when we're filling out the grant application, we should be having that consultant cost be also with the same item of the actual installation of the LEDs?
I guess I'm saying that the way Dave keeps mentioning it is it can actually be separate items. Some communities will do the design and hire a consultant before they ever get to really doing the implementation part of it. They're trying to understand what they should, there's levels of complexity, so they're way ahead. You guys are, the way he's saying it is a little different than the way I think he's trying to approach it. So he just said, I kind of think of them one and the same. That means they're a little more together, where you're not doing it step by step by step.
Right, so are we still, like, in my mind, we're putting an RFP out for some consultant to put a spec together with some design language in it.
You need that first.
To then go out to bid.
Yep, you're going to do that first, and then you're going to use that information to put out the bid. How can someone bid on it and no cost until they know what type of light, what cabinet you're going to put in, those kind of things. Like you're going to need more information to probably put in the bid that comes from the design with the consultant.
Yeah, and then the consultant, I think we'd be looking for the consultant to actually do the project oversight too.
Yeah, the town's going to be heavily involved though, just so you know. Like there's no way not to have a town heavily involved, because you need potentially a detail. You're going to need to like weigh in with the fire and the police. I mean, there's a lot that goes on in like, rolling these out, and whether you do a pilot and put a few lights up and see the feedback, or do a street. I mean, I don't know, like some people don't, some people do. I told you about if you need to replace any wires, things like that. So.
Okay. But so I guess the question more on me myself, and whether I'm saying it right, but when we go for the grant, the next grant round, how would I do both the consultant and installation in the same grant?
It's like one project, I mean, you can conversion of streetlights, an LED conversion of streetlights, and then in that you're going to break down the cost. So, you're going to have to, do you have any estimates? Because you kind of need to know how much it's going to cost you to convert, right? Just saying, guys, like you're going to have a ballpark estimate.
Right.
And I think
come in
that's
for a grant.
I think initially we were thinking the consultant would help us come up with the estimate.
Well, you need the grant. Well, then are you guys going to pay to hire a consultant so that you can come up with that number, then come in for a grant?
No, we'd rather not do that.
Because you need the estimated savings. Because you need the estimated savings on the streetlights to get the grant.
Right. So we would need to get and I think, Dave, you felt confident that we could get some level of estimate of what that.
I mean, I feel like we could contact companies to get an estimate based on the companies that, you know, that are used heavily in Massachusetts, the Tamcos and the other guys. We can get an estimate.
Yeah,
from
Dave, the
them.
other thing you can do is connect with Kara Goodman. So when I connected you to her
Yeah,
way back, remember, so MAPC ran that streetlight program for us,
yes.
where they handed out additional incentives. And when they did that, they have like a spreadsheet. And I don't, you know, hopefully they've been updating it, and we would take that within the grant. So it allows to see what you have now, potentially what you could convert it to for wattages, get a rough ballpark. It even gives you some ideas of maintenance and stuff, but it'd be a starting point on what savings you would see, costs. I mean, things can change when you go out. You should be aware of that. But it would give you a ballpark of how close to the 200,000 you're getting to.
Okay. And at 336 lights, I don't see us getting anywhere near 200,000.
No, but
Um,
I mean, you need some sort of you need something to show you the energy savings. And then you do also need, you know, it would be good for you to have you talked to any consultants?
We haven't really, you know, that's the thing. We're very behind in this, in my opinion. But you know, I had reached out to Tara before, and she kind of gave me the impression that they weren't doing the combined communities anymore and all the work they used to.
They're not, but she did send on. So what I sent to you was they did have open. They had already gone out for procurement under those type of services. And they had companies that you could actually use through those procurements to hire if you wanted to, without having to go out to bid. So that's one thing to know. That's my understanding of how that worked, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, through the through MAPC, through the Regional Planning Agency, from what they've done in the past. She also could still have that spreadsheet that you might be able to use. I don't know how outdated it is. I mean, I haven't asked that question to her in a while.
Right.
I think I only have you guys working on streetlights. A lot of communities have already upgraded them, or if they didn't, they kind of decided they wanted to go the different route and have National Grid convert them and still own them.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right.
Could
Dave.
I ask, could I ask
sure.
one question while we're at this point?
Oh, definitely.
It's actually to you, Dave. The numbers that we've been selling to the town for a number of years, aren't those good estimates that might just need to be updated?
Well, they definitely need to be updated. They were very early on estimates when the cost of the lights was higher. We had Tamco came in and did a unsolicited, you know, bid for the street lights, and it came in at like 150,000. I'm going to say, just as a number.
Right.
And so we have some number, but you know, obviously, I'd like to try to get more accurate number at this point than that. Right?
Okay, just asking that question. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Now, Kelly, how old would that estimate have to be?
How old could it be? Right.
How old could it be? I'm sorry. How old could it be?
Not too old.
Okay. So yeah, ours
Not
is going to be like, it's going to be like 3 years old at this point.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
And you need to have, because costs would definitely have changed by then. And, you know, we're going to want to see a decent reference to what the savings and things like that could be.
Okay. Okay. All right. So your suggestion is we look at this as a consultant. Well, we should look into, I should, somehow reach out to Tara, reach out to
Kara.
the group. What?
You won't get far if you call it Tara. You got to call it Kara.
Kara. Okay. Sorry. It's my Long Island accent. Okay. Kara. And basically try to get with the folks that they've used to try to see about getting some kind of estimates right now as well.
Mhm.
And at the same time, we should look to a list of consultants and start talking to the consultants about roughly what that would be for the consultant.
Yeah, and so the way that Kara explained it is it's like an audit design. So they audit it, so they kind of see what the savings potential are, and then they help you design it and then she also referenced, you know, when I talked about them having open bids, I meant contracts. They had contracts available that you could use that had been gone through the solicitation process for towns looking to do this. And that's the information I sent along to you.
Okay.
That's for the audit design or the actual installation?
Well, it's Tanko Lighting, Light Smart, and Real Term Energy. So I would say it's installation too,
Okay.
because it's Tanko on there.
Yeah.
So the contracts are specific to audit, design, and project management work.
Okay. And I think, I mean, basically, that's what I'm kind of getting at. I feel like that's what we need is somebody to audit, help with the design, and oversee the project.
Yeah, you just need to figure out if you have enough information to get a quote or cost, and then come in enough information on the saving side to complete the application.
Okay. All right. All right. And I'm trying to be mindful of your hard stop. So, guys, any other questions for Kelly?
I don't think so.
Very helpful.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. All right. I think we got a good feel. I'm going to go, I have your email up. I'm going to review that with the crew here.
Yeah, send around to them the email I sent to you and Heather about Kara's information and the open contracts and the link there. It's definitely a little outdated. I was trying to look to see when I sent it to you. I sent it to you back in September. So it'd be good to probably check in on that, but that might not be a bad starting point to just see what they've done, who they're working with, and it might help you move along. And then you don't have to go that route, but it's at least a starting point that other municipalities use.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. Okay.
And then the deadline is going to be in April. So the clock's not like ticking, but it's starting to tick. 'Cause 2 months go by
No.
really fast.
Right.
No, yeah, it's ticking fast. Let's put it that
The
way.
only, the only
Ah.
problem is municipal government runs backwards.
So,
Oh,
yeah.
So so I think we had the deadline is April 9th. That's likely going to be pushed out a little because we want to be able to accommodate us having delayed posting the application. Dave, do you get the e-blast that go out?
You sent it to me and I signed up again. I wasn't sure.
Okay.
I don't think I
So-
was getting them, but
I'm
yeah.
glad you did, because it is very likely an e-blast will go out with the application while I'm on vacation. If
Okay.
it doesn't, I'll send some now when I get back, but
Okay.
definitely, it definitely should be going out very, very soon.
Excellent.
All right, guys, let's move along with this streetlight project. Dave's been working really hard. I feel like you're gonna lose the momentum. Just, piggyback on some of the other towns, because there's a lot of them that have done it. I wouldn't focus too much on I would focus on the Unitil price, but you don't need that for the grant anymore.
Right.
So we've been more lenient on the language, Dave. So you do not need the price. You could probably use the information you have already showing that you're actively working with them. You have a price you could even go off of, and that would be sufficient enough, even if that changes.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. I appreciate
right.
everything. All
No
right.
problem. It's
All
very
right.
exciting.
Yes. Enjoy Florida. It was.
Yeah, happy packing.
Yeah, it was 80. It was 83 today. by
I
the
know,
way.
I'm excited.
Yes. Yes. Are you? I mean, is this a Disney deal or is it
Oh,
somewhere
no.
else?
Everyone keeps asking that. No, we did Disney a couple years ago. This is like a relaxing
Oh,
trip.
good for you.
We're going
Good
to
for you.
like Cape Coral. We're gonna go out to Sanibel and Captiva and
Oh, you're going south. Oh, wow. Okay. All right.
maybe
That's
a little
lo-
golf for my other people I'm going with. If anything, I would drive the cart. I'm definitely not gonna be.
That's the best part, driving the cart.
Yes,
Yeah, my
exactly.
husband's like, you can drive the cart and have a drink. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, that's a good vacation.
That should be real nice. Yeah, Sanibel is one of my favorite places down there, but that's perfect.
Well, I heard it's really good place to look for shells.
It is. It's an amazing place to look for shells. Just really easy, very laid back. It's like the closest thing to the Caribbean without being there. So
Oh, see, you could sell it.
yes,
You should have you
yes.
helping them sell it. That's the best way someone's ever put it. I've told
Yeah.
tons of people I'm going, they're like, oh, look for shells.
No. Just relax. It's more quiet and it's definitely it's not the tourist place. Let's put it that way.
I know. That's why I'm like, no Disney for us this time. Well, let me know if you have any more questions. I'll be back the week after.
You got it. Sounds perfect.
All
Thanks
right.
again.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
for your
you.
time. Okay.
Thanks, Billy.
All right, so guys, let me pull up now. I'm going to share a screen. I sent it to you, but I'm going to share it anyhow. Just to review what Kelly was talking about. So this is the person, is Kara Goodman on here. I thought I had sent this to you, and if I didn't, I 100% apologize for
You
it.
did.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think you did.
Okay. Whew. I'm not as bad as I think. This idea, I'm trying to get as many jobs as Dave has, but I'm holding off.
You can have half of mine, Dave.
Yeah, well, I see you gave up on a building reuse committee. So, okay, no problem there. That one that they're talking about twice a month. I'm like, oh my goodness. Anyway, so I looked into this Combis thing, and if you saw it, it was like we've already missed the two that they talked about. So I don't know if there's a third. So I'll put a note out to Kara and see about if we can get, what the heck's going on with this thing, on this thing. But if some folks, if you can kind of look at this and help me out in your interpretation, if you can get a chance to look on the DOER site or the sites that she's given us, and your interpretation about, audit, design, project management, and all that happy stuff that we have, and the installation of this thing. It
Yeah,
sounds
and-
like we can, it sounds like there's well, if I remember right, looking at this, they talk about the three consultants, Tamco, LightSmart, and Real Time Energy. I know Tamco is the one that we got a bid from before. So this could be also an installation, but it's sounding like there's also a list of people that did the installation. So I'm sure we can reach out to people for bids to install, just based on the information that we already have on the lights. This would be a straight 1-for-1, saying that, this is a 40 watt, this is whatever it is, 100, whatever the numbers are now, and in the list we have, and saying, replace it 1-for-1, what's the price, right?
Yeah.
Because the experience with the green grant is that you could always, it's plus or minus with this thing to get the grant, as long as we have other projects to go along with it.
It sounds like we would be maybe just applying for this in this round if the cap is 200,000.
Actually, no, because here, hold on, let me pull that up. Documents, personal, streetlights. Here we go. Okay, so let me make this smaller. And so this was the Tanco quote that we got. So this total retrofit cost was $156,000, and this is back in 2017. Hold on, let me make it bigger. Okay.
So it's going to be a little higher now.
It could be lower, and
I was gonna say labor's probably gone up, but materials may have come down with you're saying the LED fixtures may be less expensive nowadays.
that's correct. I definitely see the cost of the LEDs going down.
But
Okay,
that was, this was an estimate for the install, right? Not for,
no, this was everything, lights
So
and
for-
everything.
but was it for project management services and
No,
auditing? So
No.
that's what I'm saying. If we're
Oh,
gonna
okay.
put those two together as one project in the application, it might be that we don't have room for much else in the application if we're like, so what I heard her saying is somehow get an estimate for what it would cost to get a consultant that would do the audit, that would do some basic design, like designing the RFP for us, and project management. So that's one contract, and then the installation is another contract. But when we apply for it in the grant, we're calling it one project. We're not breaking those two things into separate buckets because there's no return on the investment for the audit, design project management contract in and of itself.
Correct.
The whole
Correct.
project that gives you the return on investment. So we just need an estimate. If we're gonna go that route, maybe what she was saying is that we could ask MAPC to get an estimate for those 3 consultants that they have contracts with. It was a little unclear to me exactly what she was saying with those 3 companies, because I don't understand how MAPC having an open contract with those companies helps us get a contract with those companies.
I didn't know if it means that we can like ride their coattails of the due diligence of multiple prices, because
Maybe.
so if you look at the decision summary document, I just had that up. It shows, 5 entities here, and they're saying that essentially they recommend having them on board for consulting services, and they give a rating of how these folks are. And if you keep scrolling, I think the next page had their unit pricing,
Oh, yes, yeah.
right? So Tanko was $7,
Oh.
$7, $4, based on what the different services were. So I think if we know roughly what we need for services, right? So how many Cobra lights, are there decorative lights? Then there's the $5 per street light for the product installation, procurement, installation management, right? So I think we could use these numbers to, come up with our rough estimate based on the number of fixtures we have. That was the sense I got. What I don't know is, does our procurement requirements say, doesn't matter what MAPC does, we still have to get 3 bids, or would we be able to say from the information here, we want to go with Tanko or one of these other ones because MAPC already did the work of locking in these vendors. That was sort of my read on what she was saying. I don't know enough about that side of it.
Yeah. I
Okay.
wonder if those multiple vendors are already like approved vendors on Combis, which is the statewide like approved site. So if you use a vendor on Combis, you don't necessarily have to go out to bid. I think Heather could answer that question. Heather could confirm that.
So actually 7B here for all these folks is delivery of MAPC services for installation procurement. So this looks like this is their cost to not the actual install. We still bid the install, but this would be like we partner with one of these entities
Right.
at
Okay.
these prices, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And then they would assist. I think that's what it's saying. Delivery
Okay.
of, right? Assistance with streetlight buyback, delivery of MAPC.
Sorry, am I going?
No, that's fine. No.
Yeah, so that assistance with, streetlight back, delivery of MIV service, but product procurement, wireless controls, we wouldn't have that anyhow, because I don't think we're doing wireless controls. And product and installation procurement, installation management, so that's built into that as well.
Right. But there's still an installer. So this is like the partner we would hire to work with us to determine exactly what's needed, oversee all the actual procurement and the finding somebody to do the install, but we'd still have to put out an RFP for the installer. But this would be what I think what she was referring to as our consultant / designer, right?
Okay.
And these are rates that should help us figure out how much we need to carry for that service. And then what I don't know is if we have to put an RFP out to have these folks bid on it, or because they're already locked in with MAPC, can we just pick one?
Okay,
Yeah.
well,
That
I
might
guess,
be a question for the town, right?
all
I
right, well,
think this is what this tool or an updated version of it that MAPC has could give us the estimate information that we need to apply. And then we either go out to bid for both consultant and installation, or just the installation, because we don't have to bid on the consultant because we can use one of those companies.
Right.
So,
Okay, so, what, all right, help me out here. So for Kara, come on, my pen just died on me. Okay, for Kara here, my questions are, contact information, if I can have contact information for these companies. And I feel like if I can, reach out to these companies, even asking what their price per unit would be.
I wouldn't start there with Kara. I'd ask Kara if they still have a spreadsheet that they're updating that can help us come up with a good estimate for the grant application of what it would cost. And then ask, then, depending on what her answer is, we can go to those companies directly. But it sounded like what Kelly was saying is if MAPC is keeping that sheet updated, then we can use that as our estimate and get a copy of that sheet and provide that as the documentation. So I
Okay.
guess it sounded like Kelly was saying we need to give them some kind of documents on how we came to that estimate.
Gotcha. Now that makes sense. So let me even do this here. If I go, I'm going to take the 2165. So if I take 21.65 times 336 plus 750 plus 750 plus 123. Wow, that's under 10,000 for that consultant. Temco, okay. So the numbers, the numbers work out differently, but they're all roughly this 10 to 12, figure 10 to $12,000 for a
Is
different
that with
consultant.
project management in there
That's
too?
that's with everything from task 1 through 8. So I took this one as a upper average, right? The middle one, 2165, 21.65. Oh, sorry. 6.5 times 336 lights plus 750 twice plus $1,000, and I get a whooping, 10K. If I take 10co and I do 16 times 336 plus 3,123 plus 5,000, because I'm going to add the two together because I don't feel like push. But that's like 13,000. And let me try Light Smart. Clear 20.25 times 336 plus 500 plus 4. That's coming in at 11. So the consultants probably, even if we're saying like, 14,000, that's not bad, right? For this side of things, that's okay. A decent number for that. Would we agree?
Yeah, I would even say a little bit higher than that is still kind of a normal price for the consultant to do the work.
Right.
15, if we were a bigger community, we would assume it would be between 20 and 30,000.
The one thing I did see, one of the other documents in this same spot, I was just clicking around, they had an Excel workbook that some of these tables came from. And these rates, that price and technical rating sheet, it looks like they built this info off of Bill Ricca and Saugus. There's if you go to the price table tab, those quantities of fixtures are 20, they're like 2,000, almost 3,000 fixtures.
Oh, right.
The only thing we don't, I don't know if these guys hold those prices, those unit prices for such a smaller quantity, right? Is this like an order of magnitude where?
Yeah.
So I think, Liz, your point's valid of we're coming up with something in the $10,000 to $13,000 range when we run the numbers that are shown here. Ours could be more like 15 because we have so few fixtures. Maybe the per unit price would have to be higher to really make it worth their while, right? So I don't see it jumping to 20K, right? It's probably in that maybe 15 to 20K range.
Okay. And,
Something like that.
and I appreciate it because like I said, the biggest thing I'm looking at is this, there's 200K available for the grant,
Yeah.
right? I just want to make sure we're staying, that we leave room for other projects too. Because I've been
And if-
approached about other projects as well.
Do you
And if we
have-
had, you said that all in that estimate from Tanko before was
Like
160, but that was like a complete package, not just this service, right? So,
Right, that's 156. Yeah.
so we figure that already has the consulting stuff built into it. The lighting project, maybe we're in the 160 to 170 range.
Yes, yes, that's correct. I'm trying to find okay, I don't have it here, but they broke this down. This is including detail, by the way, that 156. That was including the police detail estimate in
Excellent.
there.
So
That'd
we
be a
got
higher
room.
cost
We
too.
certainly have room within the grant then.
Right, right. Okay,
it sounded like she was saying that they're gonna be issuing the grant application probably within a couple of weeks, but it's gonna be due April, maybe mid-April, which isn't really a lot of time if nobody's started kind of working out, well, like what those other projects are. I mean, we've been focused on the streetlights, but if there are other projects, those the different departments have to help us kind of figure out how to
yes,
come up with those costs and the return on investment.
Dave, those are coming out of facilities, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
that's correct, yes.
Yeah.
So they gave me something, I can't find it right off the top of my head.
And do we have the person, is the person that will be doing the grant application inputting into this system? Is that the school department or facilities now? I forget.
It's facilities.
Okay, and they've been trained on it, so they should maybe know what they're doing.
They should, but we'll still have to be. So this is some of the other projects they're looking at. AC at the primary school that includes adding condensers for classrooms, coils, replacements of 2 furnace units at town hall attic with 3 units, blah, blah, blah. I'm not sure on that one. And then replacement of the 4 condenser coils and copper line sets on cooling system. And I assume that's a town hall as well. So I always still have trouble with town hall projects. Just because I'd like to see what if the town is gonna procure the money to do something with the building first. Before I'm putting money to upgrade it. However, we've been kicking that down the road for a while.
Well, I was gonna say, if you're upgrading utilities at that building, even if it ends up being something we part ways with, it makes it a better sale, right? I mean, selling something with a garbage furnace versus selling something with an energy efficient furnace, not that should be a priority, but I don't know that it's necessarily a bad investment if it potentially fits into whether it's sold or used,
Okay, yep,
I would imagine there'd be lots of return on investment there, just because there's so much energy leakage from that building.
Yeah, and the capital plan is gonna put some money into town hall in the next fiscal year. That's already on the capital plan, assuming it passes. So they're not abandoning it. They've done wiring improvements already this fiscal year. So they are doing those projects that need to be done to protect the building and clean it up so that, as you just said, Matt, it makes it more desirable as a building that could be used for something else.
all right, so I'll respond to Heather on this, copying Rob Oliva. Basically asking for them to provide quotes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Are you folks aware, I'm sorry, Dave, to interrupt, are you
No, go
aware
ahead.
that Rob will no longer be with us by mid-March?
No, I wasn't aware of that. Okay,
That was announced last night at the Board of Selectmen's meeting.
okay. That was quick. Okay,
Was he
I-
the person that has been trained on this, how to apply for the grants in that system?
That's the-
Somebody else in the office had been, but it wasn't as much for applying grants. It was, they were trained on how to enter stuff into the system.
This is
Okay,
reporting our usage and energy stuff, so
That's
to see
correct.
that we're getting the return we expected, right? That's
That was
the,
most likely Sam.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yep.
So somebody there. Okay. Man, that was quick on Rob, Dave. That was just announced that it was just, he was,
Yeah, I don't have any official specific details. I'm sure that'll come out over the next week or two.
okay. All right. It was interesting because I did see the job application for a facilities manager for the town.
Yes, that's a position that that's been one of Heather's goals, is to deal with the facilities department and get it to be kind of a standalone department, which it desperately needs to be.
Agree. Okay. Agree. Okay. Okay. All right. So I'll approach, I don't know how we're going to do this then, if he's going to be leaving in March. But I can approach Heather about seeing about getting estimates on these things. Okay. All right. So we have that, and then we had
Dave, one more comment while you're flipping through
sure.
moving documents on that one you just flashed up. I just would like to go on record as one of the committee members that does not want to set the Wi-Fi control system totally off to the side. I hope we have a thorough discussion about that. I think you may remember way back when I started paying attention to green communities, well before looking to get on the committee, that I made public comment that I thought that was one item that really should seriously be looked at. And I understand that it doesn't calculate into a lot of additional savings, but for the small dollar amount that I just saw on those proposals, I think we should have a serious discussion about it.
Dave, you're talking about piggybacking the effort to put 5G Wi-Fi type devices as we have an installer doing the lights to potentially piggyback that effort to put
No,
in.
actually, I know what you're talking about, and I do support that, but I don't see that happening in Lunenburg, to tell you.
Oh,
the truth.
okay.
I'm more towards Wi-Fi monitoring of each individual light fixture to record its power usage rather than an estimated given amount based on sunlight average, so on and so forth. I think
Gotcha.
there's additional savings that can be had by having actual numbers rather than calculated numbers.
so
That's
you're talking
just
about,
my position.
Fitchburg did that. There's a monitoring system that that they use. I don't.
Now, is that like, do we think that's this wireless controls element here is both data collection and potentially we can dim this fixture remotely or increase the brightness remotely or something like that? Is that?
I think it's-
Honestly, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Go ahead, Liz.
there might be some option for that level, but I think mostly what the monitoring is about is the streetlight functioning or not,
Right.
and probably gives you the wattage and that kind of information.
Liz,
So because once you own it, then it's up, it's all on us, like we
Yep.
save or don't save based on keeping up with that, with those replacements.
Liz, isn't there an option also to give you the actual power usage data for each light so that you're paying for what you actually use rather than an estimated calculated use?
That would make sense if that is included, but I don't know.
Okay.
Let me just see something real quick if I can figure this out. Abstract references. No, okay. I was just seeing if there's. Okay. Nope. I mean, I know, I used to deal with a couple of companies that did this. That's what they did, but I don't have any idea what the cost would be, the additional cost to the system. That's the only thing.
Yeah, I think the hardware would probably be pretty cheap. It's the continuous monitoring and data collection and stuff that might be a little pricey over the long run.
See, that should be to me, that would be the less expensive part, but that's okay. Because
I don't know, electronics are pretty darn cheap these days.
I know that, but it's okay.
Yeah, I'm sure that there's gonna be a cost per pole
Right,
to add some kind of monitoring, and I don't know if it's a system that you own, and is there an ongoing cost to the community, like certain types of software programs that municipalities use, or you pay annually for that system? Like, online payments and things like that. There's, generally in like online permitting, you have to pay annually a certain amount for the system. So there could be an ongoing cost to that. And I don't know if we could look further into that after we apply, and if there's any possibility that the town would consider paying for that portion of it if we didn't apply for it in the grant, or if that wasn't, or how specific we need to be with what we're applying for.
I'd just be interested in what that $2 per unit is in this spreadsheet. And maybe
Okay.
Eric could give us a little bit of insight on that, or direct us somewhere where we could find out. Because my understanding was that the electronics go in the unit that is installed on top of the fixture, basically where the sensor is to turn it on and off with daylight and darkness. It's part of that unit.
So this is basically what they do. This is what, they call it, basically, it's part of the Cobra head, that top of it. And they just replace it with different unit. This one, 2G is gone, but 4G and narrowband, but it's that standard 7-pin dim, and it does give, obviously you're going to get the dimming control. It comes with the dimming control if you have it. So the idea would be, so it's an open standard cellular network. You can do it gateway free, and so you can do individual light management and switching options and blah 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 blah. And then it gives you all that analytics that you did, so we can go back to Unitil and say something to them, like, we didn't use that much that you're charging us for.
Right.
And it's basically part of the unit. So you're just taking off the usual dawn to dusk, and then you're adding this unit instead.
Yep.
If that's the $2 charge in that spreadsheet, that sounds like cheap money, but doesn't sound realistic.
No, I think that's just that's for them to help design that. That's for them to help with selecting a company. I would think,
okay.
Dave. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Gonna give it to us for $2, we'll take it.
Yes, exactly. And that's the biggest thing, is this something that, as you say, is this going to be a recurring charge on this thing?
I wouldn't be surprised if somebody like Kara at MAPC can answer those questions for us.
Yep, exactly. So let me see on that. I'll see if she can make them. I'm going to get an initial conversation with her, and I'll see if she can make a meeting maybe for us to ask, for you guys to be able to ask questions as well, because that's my fear, is I'm going to ask some questions, but not all of them, which I know is going to happen because you guys have different questions than I might have had. So,
Dave, if she can't make it to a meeting and you want to try to schedule a call, I don't think that we could all be on the call because of public meeting law, but if we have less than a quorum.
Okay.
And I'd be happy to, if it was scheduled, so that I could work it into my calendar, I'd be happy.
Gotcha. All right. So that just means that one of us drops off. Because then we have, no, actually two. I'm sorry. That would
Yeah,
have to
we
be
could
two.
only have
Right,
two
Oh, I-
people and not have a quorum.
Right, yeah,
But, you know, she can make,
Go ahead. Liz and Dave, I totally support that. Because
Okay.
that makes the most sense and from a timely point of view, it could be done quicker than having to wait for a posted meeting and so on. So I totally agree with that.
okay. Okay. All right, no, I'm fine. I just wanted to see what this other document was. Okay, perfect. Oh, okay, that's for the,
I think it's a template form we could use if we were, right, that we're gonna contract.
yes, okay. Okay, yep, all right, all right. All right, cool, cool. All right, so I'll get in touch with Kara on that and try to get some of the questions, see if there's an updated spreadsheet and see if I can get schedule a call with her to just to discuss this in more detail about the whole thing. Excellent. All right. All right.
I'll email you my cell phone number now, so you have that.
Okay. Ooh, okay. But you got that trip to Salem coming up. Okay, no problem. All right. All right. All right. So it sounds like based on, well, I'll ask you guys, based on what you heard from Kelly, should we still be considering this RFP for a designer?
I think it's just, it may be an RFP for an audit, for a consultant to do audit, design, project management, all in one. But it sounds like we might need to wait or we need to talk to Kara first and see, do we really need to go out to RFP? Or can we just use their, actually, this might be a question for Heather and Kara. Get Kara's opinion and Heather's opinion about whether or not we still need to go out to RFP.
Okay.
Honestly, I think Heather can answer that question. And I, like you, Liz, believe that it will be, yes, you can take somebody, if that list has been updated and still exists, we should be able to pick someone off of that list because they do that for procurement all the time. If they're on the state list, you don't have to go out to bid. Again, Heather's our expert in town on that.
Right. I think my question is just, is the fact that MAPC has a contract, does that mean they're on the state list or is that a separate thing?
Right.
You know, MAPC has those contracts, but they were also doing a service for communities for a while that they no longer do.
Right.
I just wanted to say to Kelly, can we just get MAPC to start doing this stuff again?
Yeah.
That's a downside of delaying this as long as it's been delayed. I had to say that because, you know, it's one of the reasons I got involved. It was stalled so many years ago. I'm excited to see it where it's at today, but we should have been there 6 years ago.
Dave, believe me, as the one of the original members of the green community.
Yep.
Just the idea of becoming a green community was stalled for too many years in itself. It was ridiculous. You know, 3 builders and 2 architects on the committee did not help us too much, and for 4 years.
Well,
type
they
of
were
thing.
protecting, they thought they were protecting their interests and then found out that there was no interest to protect.
Yes, yes. And by the way, they are talking about having a new stretch code. But, you know, it's going to be 3 years before they implement it. There was I have it somewhere. I'll try to send you guys the presentation on it. But they did do a presentation on there's a new stretch code. There's a new committee started to come up with a new stretch code. That
You're
would
talking
be
about at the state level?
at the state, exactly, at the state level. But that stretch code could end up being more on larger buildings than individual homes. Type of thing. So they're going to look for it that if you're going to build a new building, you're going to have to make sure it's an energy efficient building.
Mhm.
Because to me, obviously, they're going to get more bang for a buck on a building than an individual home when it comes to energy efficiency. right now,
Mhm.
type of thing. Okay. All right. All right. So, it sounds like we have some time, but I mean, I'm kind of, I'm feeling good that there might be a quicker path to getting these numbers together than this whole idea of going for RFPs, reviewing them, and all that happy stuff right now. My biggest fear was the idea of, and I'm wondering if these consultants can give us a rough number of what an installation would cost at all. Or is that
Dave,
something?
do you think you could still reach out to the contacts you had at Tanco if they are still with them, or reach out to them and say, hey, could you update this information you gave us 3 years ago?
I thought Kelly
Yes.
would-
Yeah.
I
Go
thought
ahead.
Kelly was suggesting that we could get all of this information from MAPC. Potentially.
I thought so too. However, and I'm wondering if this thing, task 3 here, product and installation procurement, installation management. If
That's
that's,
the oversight.
Right. I
Okay.
think that's not, yeah, that's them helping to buy the product for us, helping them to identify the person who's going to do the install. That's how I read that. And
okay,
then overseeing that install, right?
okay, no, that's fine. That's why I have more eyes than my own. I'm an eternal optimist. So, okay, all right, cool. Okay. All
So I
right,
think that's the key, is getting one of these folks on board as soon as possible. But if that has to, I guess that has to be part of the grant. But whether like Tanco will give some guidance because they've reached out previously just to help us shape the grant application, and then we can sign up. It does seem like knowing if we can just pick one of these folks because they're on the mass list.
right.
That definitely moves the needle from like barely started to 25% pretty quickly, right?
Yes. I'm trying to see. Let me just look really quick here. Oh, darn it. All right. I'm dead there. I was trying to see if there was a way of going backwards and seeing if there was a list of approved installers as well,
Oh, right.
But there doesn't seem, oh, did she send me that? Hold on. Oh, here we go.
I think the town would probably still want to go out to RFP for something like that, if just
For
you
the
know,
install piece, you're saying.
for the install, yeah,
Yeah.
because you contractor, you want to get the best price for a bigger job like that. A smaller, like consultants, engineers, architects, those are more likely to be able to use on combis. I've never seen us not go out to bid on something that's installation, no, not Lunenburg, but
Right.
in Fitchburg at least. Now, we're gonna need to have another meeting, I assume, too, before we submit the application, just to kind of finalize what we're applying for.
That is correct. Yes. Yeah. Well, I assume we're going to end up, I'm sorry, guys, but I'm going to end up a couple more meetings, right? Because
Right.
once we know what Cara says, Heather says, and other ways of doing it, we have to go through that, as well as, figuring out other projects too on this thing.
Dave, somewhere before the end of this meeting, do you guys think it would be prudent for us to advertise to the town departments that are going to be submitting those other projects, set a deadline for those to be to us so that they don't hold up I wouldn't hold up our progress in the application anyway if they don't get them into us on a timely manner, but give them a date so that they know they've got a target to shoot for.
Definitely. So, okay.
When
so
they
let me-
post that as Kelly was talking about, they're gonna release that the application's available, right, for this next round. That's gonna have info on it as to what type of projects fit, or are people already aware of that enough?
They actually, there is a form already. I have
Okay.
it somewhere. But, oh, here we go.
Was suggesting that it might be a little different this year because they're trying to be more flexible. At least that's what I thought that I heard. So it might be a little bit different, but
But
capturing.
it might be flexibility about what info is needed to apply for the grant,
Yeah,
more so than changes in what qualifies, right?
yeah. I
Yeah,
think
that
that's
was
what she
kind of
was
how
saying.
I heard it too, right?
Okay. I'm just trying to see. Electricity. Okay, I'll look, we can look, I can look through this and figure out something here. Man, they have enough stuff.
Mhm.
Dave, do you think that you could forward when you get the email blast, or before you get the email blast, like if there's a way for us to sign up for that email blast, could you forward that to us?
Yes, in fact, I should have it, hold on. Let me make. Yes, I will, and I will send that to you guys.
Then we all know when the grant becomes available.
Oh, here we go. Oh, shoot. I did the wrong one. Trash. Okay. Come on. I hate Gmail. Okay. Okay. Oops. Okay, you got it. And by the way, this will have a link for that. I talked about that a little bit earlier. Here's the competitive grants and things like that. That's the last one, but this is that webinar I talked about.
Mhm.
You can register for the webinar here, but you can basically go and it talks a little bit about, it doesn't really say much, but it's there on that. See, electric school bus funding. You want to talk about that yet, guys?
Next round.
Yes. So, and then that's the whole thing. Fleet audit, yeah, so. Okay. All right, where was I here? Okay. All right, so it sounds like we have a decent plan, guys, so far.
Mhm.
All right,
So,
okay, so I'm actually gonna I'll send a letter, we'll draft a letter for the town departments on possible projects and needing the information by, I'm gonna say mid-March, March 15th. This way, if I get stragglers, then it's not that bad. But that'll give us time to make sure we have everything we can, we can review the projects and see which ones we need to get more information that makes sense. I'll use the last energy table because I know unless the grant application comes out, if the grant application comes out, we can use the table from the grant application to say this is the information we would need in order to apply for the grant, and it's up to them to come up with that information.
Yep.
Because obviously we're not going to be able to do it. It's one of those moments I'm missing Mr. Londa really badly because he was my master at that. But we'll figure things out on this thing. Okay.
So you're gonna use like your old information to ask the departments to provide not just what their project is, but the information that you need or
Right,
that we need to put into the system.
that's correct, because, I feel like if we don't have an idea of energy savings and return on investment, so an estimate of what the project's gonna cost,
Mhm.
the energy savings, and so then we can determine ROI, we can't make an intelligent decision on whether the project makes sense to even apply for the grant or not, right?
Right.
Because I'd hate to waste, we only have up to 200K. I hate to have to, choose between projects if we don't know what the ROI is on those.
Right.
Okay.
Dave, so that gives us a date for next meeting in March, sometime shortly after that date. Would you agree?
That's correct, but I'm gonna look to try to, when I have additional information from Kara, I'd look to try to do a meeting in early March.
Okay,
Okay,
I'm good either way. That's fine.
Yeah,
well, listen, I feel like, I think we all agree that the number one goal is the streetlight,
Yes.
right? And
Yep.
so that's the one I definitely we need to keep moving that forward as quickly as possible, right?
Yep.
So I need to get the information, we need to get the information from Kara, review it with Heather, and then I would also review it with Kelly to make sure we're doing this the right way, and be able to move forward with that plan. Right?
Excellent plan.
Okay, man, with energy savings and ROI. Okay. Okay, excellent. All right. So let me see, what else we got today?
I think that's enough.
All
I think
right,
we've gone through most of your list here. I'm looking at it.
yeah, I got yelled at. I think you guys saw, I got yelled at because they want me to make sure I can get this list on one page now.
I haven't seen one. They're probably doing that to all committees because I haven't seen one yet in the last 6 months. It's on one page.
Well, because you have to have all this stupid
I was
stuff
gonna
up
say,
top,
it's that
right?
opening paragraph.
Yeah,
that's the
exactly.
challenge.
And I get a kick out of that, they want me to read the whole thing, because if you're not on the Zoom, if you're not on the call already, who's gonna join?
Right.
Type of thing. But
Right.
anyway, okay, all right. Okay. All right, excellent. All right, so upcoming meeting and event schedule, I will let me once I get information from Kara, I'll reach out to everybody on it. I'd be looking at probably the first week in March is the earliest for me, anyhow. Well,
Okay.
the week, or whatever, 28th through
Yeah, that's
whatever.
only 2 weeks away, Dave. So just be aware of that. I have no problem with whatever
Yeah.
date you pick. I'll make it work.
No, understand. I'm in that mode. I'd rather be 2 weeks away and
Yep.
have a reprieve than
Yep.
be trying to shove everything in at the last minute.
I
I'm not-
agree.
I'm not doing a TC I'm not doing a TC deal every week, twice a week.
Yeah,
whatever.
well, you know my struggle with, insisting that we start with our end date and work backwards and understand that we need to meet
Yes,
certain times.
yes. Oh, understand, especially these days. Okay, so we're good there. All right, I'll ask for public comment from the public, or seeing none. Hold on, I'm gonna stop sharing just in case I can see the big screen. Nope, I don't see any public on there.
No
Any
smiling faces.
public comment from the board? Okay. I'm open for any suggestions now, guys.
Dave, I will make one comment.
Sure.
I rejoined the working force back in November, but I do still have some time. So if there's a specific item that you need run down, phone calls or whatever, please don't hesitate to hand it off to me.
Okay. All right. So let me, I guess the one might be this whole thing with Kara and the combis. I'll reach out to Kara, but I might need help with just if it becomes more complicated with the whole combis thing and things like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
You
All
and
right.
you and Liz are gonna have that initial conversation.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay,
Yes.
that's fine.
Yeah, okay. If the idea is that we can quickly reach out, if they say, reach out to these 3 companies for possibly estimates on installation, that, and my feeling on the estimates for installation is based on the sheet we already have of this is what we have today. Because I can't see it getting worse than that. It can only get better than that, right? Okay, excellent. All right, guys. I appreciate that. Thank you, Dave. All right, I'll entertain, guys.
Motion to
Motion to
adjourn.
adjourn.
All right, seconds.
That was a second and a
I'm just
third.
gonna say that, Matt.
All right,
Motion.
I'll do it formal. Liz?
Yes.
Okay, Dave, Matt?
Aye.
I'll take that as an aye for me. So I will let you guys, thank you again and have a great evening and we'll be talking soon.
All right, thanks, Dave.
Good
Thanks,
night.
everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Take care. Thanks.